So good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen Wilson, a proud councillor from Ward 1. Welcome to our first kickoff public consultation meeting on two projects that will enhance Alexander Park and the Ainslie-Wood community. It is June the 8th, 2021. We are recording this meeting. Before I go any further, I would like to give a land acknowledgement. The city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabeg to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. Thank you again for joining us. As I was stating earlier, tonight's meeting is about letting the Ainslie-Wood community know about how their local park, and by extension, their neighborhood will change over the next few years. And we believe that change will be very enriching and valuable for the neighborhood. And after this evening, the two projects, the skate park and the community hub, they'll be split. And the skate park will operate as the West Hamilton Dundas project with needs for residents from both of those communities, and the greater skate community will be actively involved in its design, while the community hub itself will remain under the direction of the Ainslie-Wood community only. It gives me a great pleasure to provide some introductions tonight. I'm joined by city staff from Public Works and also from the Community and Emergency Services Department. And they will share presentations outlining the projects. And then there'll be plenty of time, I hope, for a moderated Q&A. I'd like to make a few introductions before we get into the meat of the presentation. Because these are two projects, we have staff joining us from two different parts of the city. So tonight from Landscape Architectural Services, we have Ken Wheaton and we have Megan Stewart. And then from the city's Recreation Division, we have Don Walton and we have Carly Brush. And I think, have I missed anyone? Steve, geez, I missed you. I'm sorry. Steve Savor, who's also the manager of Sport Services, is with us tonight. Okay, so I am, you're very lucky because I won't be talking a lot tonight, but it is my great pleasure to hand off the mic to Ken, a landscape architect, and he's going to start by talking with us about the skate park. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Councillor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. We're going to be speaking to you about Alexander Park Skate Park, undertaken by Landscape Architectural Services. I'm the project manager, Ken Wheaton, and Don Walton from Recreation will be speaking to you about the community hub plans undertaken by Recreation and Facilities jointly. The items we're going to cover in the presentations tonight, it's basically two separate parts, like Councillor Wilson already outlined, the skate park project and the community hub project. The skate park project will be presented first, followed by the community hub project, presented by, again, Don Walton. The skate park project is presented by myself, like I previously mentioned. And there will be opportunities for questions at the end of the presentations. So we're going to each present our projects and then have an opportunity for questions at the end. Without further ado, let's begin with the skate park project. So I'm Ken Wheaton. Like I've said a few times here, it should be noted that this meeting marks the start of this exciting community building project. And the following slides we're going to introduce the project, outline the project's background, review the proposed skate park location, anticipated timelines, and project milestones. There's going to be an opportunity for dialogue at the end. So if we can all hold our questions or type them in the question and answer box, like the counselor previously noted, that would be amazing. To begin, we're going to ask ourselves, why are we here? Well, we like to provide information about the skate park that's going to service Dundas and West Hamilton communities. We're going to show some precedents and invite some constructive questions and feedback from our various stakeholder groups who have an interest in the skate park. Next, we will identify next steps, project milestones, and then hopefully garner some interest in our rider-focused user group. So the main goals and scope of the project are to work with stakeholders in the community to design a wheeled sports facility for skateboards, BMX bikes, and with park-friendly pegs, scooters, and rollerblades. It should be noted that mountain bikes are generally not allowed in these facilities as their deep treads can carry dirt and debris. It poses a safety concern for skateboarders due to small wheel size and potential for negative interactions, trips and falls. We aim to integrate the skate park with the existing site amenities, keeping safety and functionality as top priorities. We're aiming to add a shade structure, some seating and walkways, but it should be noted that the removal of one existing baseball diamond is required to make space for the skate park. So why was the skate park proposed for Alexander Park? Well, in 2015, the city undertook a study to create a standard process for selecting new skateboard facility locations across the entire city. In 2017, council received and approved the study, in which Alexander Park was identified as a high priority location for Dundas and West Hamilton. The site suitability was confirmed by staff and the ward councillor, allowing the project to move forward. It should also be noted that with the installation of the spray pad, we lost an existing skateboard amenity in Alexander Park, I think affectionately known as the Alexander Park Bowl. So that further bumped this project up on the list of implementation priorities. Now, moving into more details about the conceptual location of the spray pad. The location on the slide shows where we're preliminarily proposing the site for the skate park, which is proposed to be roughly 1,000 square meters or roughly 10,000 square feet. It's a conceptual location, and it should be noted that it's subject to evaluation for geotechnical considerations, safety setbacks from existing amenities, and proposed features. The baseball diamond, there's a note, baseball diamond number 1 to be removed. So right there, this baseball diamond needs to be removed. So what the city has done is they've consulted the baseball association and have received confirmation that their existing programming for this park can be distributed through the other remaining baseball diamonds. So this, from a baseball programming perspective was perceived as possible. So if everyone can see my cursor, we're proposing a walkway to connect to Whitney Avenue. This also kind of, it allows us to have a separate, somewhat separate but connected location for the skate park to also improve the level of safety on site and allow other avenues for park users who are going to the different amenities throughout the park to access those without necessarily going straight through the skate park. Now, you'll see that we've proposed a buffer zone in between the existing splash pad or spray pad, sorry, and our proposed location for the skate park. This basically helps provide a physical separation between the two uses to improve safety. Again, what that will look like, we don't know yet. This is, again, very conceptual, but we aim to work with our various stakeholders to ensure that whatever is proposed in that area adequately protects the other existing land uses. Although we have not yet determined what skate park features will be installed, the following three examples show what could be installed. And these are basically precedent projects throughout Ontario. And in addition to the skate park features, a shade structure, seating areas, potentially a drinking fountain and walkways may be part of the final design. And we'll be consulting with the public on just how high on the list of priorities each of those amenities is, as well as consulting the public regarding different skate park features that they would like to see on site. So this first example is Iceland Arena in Mississauga. It's a very large facility, has multiple features, and has, as you can see, quite a few interesting features like the bowl, which is very similar to the existing Alexander Park skate park, Alexander Park bowl that was there previously. Quite a few grind rails and some steps to go through. The next example is NF Skate Park in Niagara Falls. It's slightly smaller than Iceland Arena, but has many similar amenities. The skate park design consultant that we will be engaging will create conceptual plans based on the information and direction from the public and the rider-focused working group that I'll be speaking to you about in a few slides. They'll create a unique skate facility, custom built and designed for Alexander Park. This final skate park is more simple and compact than the previous two, but demonstrates that even a smaller skate park footprint can still be functional and fit with the surrounding park amenities. The reason why this precedent was chosen was because it shows how a skate park can be integrated with what we would call competing amenities or land uses with playgrounds in quite close proximity. So as you can see behind the bowl there's a vegetated strip with some plants that provide some physical and visual barrier between the skate park and the playground, but it still allows everything to look contiguous and as one overall park feature. So then, now that I've introduced the project, our preliminary project schedule is as follows. Right now, we're looking for a small group of individuals to become part of a rider-focused working group. As of today, we've registered about 20 riders who are interested in being part of this working group. And so we're looking for 10 to 15 more interested individuals. The group rider focused working group will work with the city and its designer, its consultants, I should say, to assist in developing a list of skate park features and offer design input in the development of 3 conceptual plans. To date, we have, like I mentioned, 20 interested individuals looking for another 10 or 15. If you're a rider interested in becoming part of this working group, please express your interest to Alexander Skate Park at hamilton.ca. Further on in the presentation, you'll get that link again. So again, it's Alexander Skate Park at hamilton.ca. The working group members can be located anywhere from the city, but we're especially looking for the voice of individuals from Dundas and West Hamilton to have some input on the design of their local skate park. So this summer, we're going to engage a geotechnical consultant to do some subsurface testing to inform the structural design of the concrete skate features. And at the same time, a design consultant, a landscape architect with a sub-consultant, civil engineering firm, and potentially a skate park designer is who we're talking about here specifically. Those consultants are going to be completing preliminary site assessments and begin preparations for meetings with the rider-focused working group. So the working group will ultimately create a list of features that will be included in the 3 conceptual plans. And we anticipate that 3 conceptual plans developed by the consultants and the working group to be summarized and voted on by the public. So we're anticipating another virtual PIC that the concept plans will be presented at. And then after that PIC, there will be an online voting platform in which residents and stakeholders can vote on their preferred concept. So in the fall and winter of 2021, the winning conceptual plan will be developed into a detailed design and working drawing set. We'll then create contract and tender documents. The project then gets issued for tender, ideally in the spring or summer of 2022, and then construction follows in late summer 2022, contingent on capital budget approval and also tendering, what prices come in at tendering. So construction is expected to take roughly 3 to 4 months. Again, we always have this caveat that says weather depending, because we all know our Canadian weather seems to not decide whether it wants to be wintertime, springtime, or summertime. So that's our anticipated timeline. And we hope we can hit all those significant milestones. So that actually is a very quick overview of what the project is. It concludes this little section of the presentation. There are a few ways to stay informed as the project proceeds through conceptual and detailed design. And those options are asking questions at this or any of the upcoming virtual consultations for the skate park project. Questions and comments from tonight's meeting will be summarized and posted on the project website. A recording of the PIC will also be available on the website. So in terms of time frame, in about a week or so, look to the project website, which is hamilton.ca/Alexander Park. Then you can review this presentation and question and answers there. As I previously mentioned, an online survey will be posted on the project website in the coming months after we've had a chance to connect with the Rider Focus Working Group. And after the working group has created their list of ideal skate features, and once the 3 concepts have been developed. The project website is the best place to stay up to date with project developments and next steps. And again, that's hamilton.ca/Alexander Park. If you have any questions or concerns after this meeting related to the skate park, please feel free to contact myself. I'm Ken Wheaton via email at ken.wheaton@hamilton.ca, or you can also reach me through the project email at alexanderskatepark@hamilton.ca. As promised, this is the project website, hamilton.ca/Alexander Park. That concludes my portion of this meeting. I'm going to turn it over now to Don Walton from Recreation to present the Clubhouse Community Hub portion of the consultation here.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good evening, Don Walton with the Recreation Division, and as discussed, I'm here to discuss the Clubhouse Community Hub concept for Alexander Park. So in the image here, I'm not sure if you can see it very clear, I've got a little faded image in the background, but this is the building we're actually talking about and looking at on Alexander Park. It's the existing clubhouse/washroom building, a park building that's been here for many, many years. And we're interested in talking to the community to determine what we can do with this space, understanding that there's a lot of big things coming and happening in Alexander Park and in the community. We want to make sure that we can respond to the growth happening on the park and hopefully do some work to this amenity, which will make it even more supportive of what's happening on this site. So why I'm here to talk a little bit about an update on the project. So what the scope of this clubhouse build or clubhouse retrofit will be. We're going to talk a little bit about community consultation, understanding what the need is in the community and what type of programs and opportunities the community hopes to see in this building. We're going to discuss the feasibility study, so what we can do with the site. I'm going to share some very similar project examples on other parks across the city. I will talk a little bit about some of the anticipated improvement requests that we think that we'll be hearing from you tonight and that we can discuss further, and then a project timeline. So tonight's scope is to work with the stakeholders and the community to define the need and use requirements for an accessible, multi-purpose program space for an indirectly programmed community use building at Alexander Park. So part of what we'll be including is a building condition assessment. So that will tell us all of the existing systems in the building that we have, the foundation, the roof, the mechanical systems. We'll be looking at community input and consultation to determine what is needed here on this space. And then a feasibility study with conceptual design and budget that will help us put together a plan, some drawings, some designs, and an idea of how much this might cost so that when we move forward with asking for funds to build, we know what exactly our costing will look like. What is out of scope for tonight? Just to be clear, we will not be talking about a recreation center or a multi-storied facility. We're not looking at an expanded footprint outside the existing city property line. And we're not looking at an expanded footprint that would impact anything that's already existing or planned from a park amenities perspective. So looking at what we already have on site and working with those amenities and planned amenities. So some similar project examples. We've discussed a little bit having retrofit buildings in the city of Hamilton. The original intent of a lot of these buildings was to support the sport amenities that were happening on these parks. So they were designed to have washrooms, storage. Many of them housed baseball, football equipment, lacrosse equipment for groups. And over the years, they had change rooms, shower houses from when they were built. A lot of them now have been underutilized, still used by some of the sport groups, but nowhere near the need of the space that's there. So we have a lot of space and it's not really all required for the existing use. So a lot of these buildings have come into play with communities saying, we want something local. We'd like to see something in, close to home where we can get out and enjoy the park, have access to other amenities close to home, and have a space where we can come together as a community. So Eastmount Park, we have a very similar building as you can see in the image. So Eastmount currently has an existing baseball user group, a very actively well-programmed baseball site. They also offer an after-school kids club. So we have a group of volunteers who run kids programming after school and on weekends and for special events out of the space. We have an adult day program for special needs adults where they come together and do some either some social and skill building, sometimes some physical activities in the space. And it's also used for community rentals and outreach. So the community can have showers and birthday parties, public meetings, and those types of things in this multi-purpose space. An example in your own ward is the Churchill Park Clubhouse. So this was a former lawn bowling club. When the lawn bowling program closed down, we had this beautiful building on the property that was not being utilized. So it's had some upgrades to it. And we now have an anchor tenant in early on programming. So we have this free community-based preschool program that operates out of the space. And they're there quite regularly making great use of the building. There's some dance and drama programming that happens in the building, including a small summer camp. The community themselves have a group that helps organize special activities around holidays. They help with the ice rink in the wintertime, and they coordinate special events for the community, some after school programming, some board game activities and those types of things. And it's also open for community rentals and rental groups to come in. Mahoney Park is another example of a similar style baseball building that didn't have a lot going on. It wasn't very well used, but the baseball program was using part of the building. We were able to update this, give it a bit of a refresh, and now we have a full day program for adult seniors club. So they come in and they play bridge, they take fitness classes, they do some day programming, and they're there Monday to Friday now during the daytime when it otherwise would have sat empty. As well, we have community rental groups that use that space. So these are all ideas of how we can take something, give it a refresh, add some features, make it more accessible, make it more user-friendly, a more multi-purpose type space in order for us to be flexible in what we can provide in that building and welcome other programs and activities and tenants, if you will, groups that will come in and deliver programs for us in that space to help the community very locally, close to home. So some of the things we've already heard about this space with the changes that have been happening on the park are the community would like to see some multi-use program space. So they want to offer a variety of programs, not quite sure what, so that's a bit of what we'll talk about later, but it's a space that we can do a lot of different types of things in. It's a lot of flexibility, but has a space where we can come together and hold public meetings and have activities with the community. We're looking at multi-use flooring considerations, understanding that if we wanted to offer programs, we need to be aware that the flooring is not just a hard concrete surface. It might need to have some flexibility in design. Accessibility is a very big conversation around how people are going to be accessing this new park with the new pathways and the splash pad amenity, the park amenity, the skate amenity, making sure we have access to the building that people can get in and around safely. And as well that, from a security and safety perspective, it has all of the features we would need to make it more welcoming to the participants of programs. Increased access to washrooms is another big one. Right now, when those buildings are closed because the washrooms are on the inside, there's limited use of them. So looking at addressing how we can have washrooms that are more accessible for a broader length of time that will truly service the park around the current hours that we have and when people are going to be using that space. Storage also comes up for discussion because whenever we're introducing program opportunities in buildings, we need somewhere to store tables and chairs and potentially some programming equipment. Consideration for our historical users is big. Although baseball is not using the entire building, they have been the key user of this building for many years. So making sure we understand what their future needs and current needs are so that they can still have use of some of that space for their storage requirements, their chalking equipment, their baseball equipment, etc. And then we're not sure yet what the community wants, but we definitely need to entertain some program-specific requirements. So our timeline. Currently, we have funding we do have some funding that was put aside through the capital budget process through participatory budget funding for a feasibility study initiation. We also will be conducting some community engagement. This one's going to be a little bit different than the skate park in that we're really looking for residents within a very close geographic distance to the park to understand what they're really looking for in this space. So it'll be a survey, but it'll be a little bit different than the Engage platform. It'll be more of a targeted engagement. In the fall and winter, we hope to define the community need and the program expectation. So understanding what we want to see in this space and what we need to design for. We'll refine that scope of work so that when we bring the consultant in, they understand what we're looking for, and then we can complete that feasibility study. And we can determine the construction budget requirements so that we can put forward a plan for a funding ask in the future. Beyond 2021, this is where we don't have firm dates yet. We'll be looking at site planning and detailed design phase. Once we understand from a detailed design perspective what we're going to be putting in, we'll go back and do re-engagement with the community to make sure we've gotten it right. We heard you, we listened, we designed, did we get everything correct? And that's what the PIC will be for. And then we'll be putting forward a budget ask. So construction is dependent on a budget funding source, and depending on how much is required on this site, it could be something where we can work very closely with Councillor Wilson, but it could also be something that needs to go through a more formal capital budget ask. So once we understand what our budget restrictions or requirements will be, we'll determine how we can move forward with a budget ask. And it'll be funded in a future year, absolutely, but this is the starting point for all of those conversations. How do you get involved? We get involved through tonight asking questions. So understanding what the community needs, and that's the benefit of these virtual public meetings, is having some true engagement where you have an opportunity to ask and get some questions and answers out. We'll also be providing some input. So we want you to tell us what you need. So that online user survey will be coming out. And then again, those public information centers, it's that continuation of the loop, right? So we're going to introduce the project, ask some questions, and then we're going to demonstrate that we understand what the need is and go back to the community to make sure we've gotten it right. And that's where those PICs come in handy, is making sure that the community understands what we're proposing moving forward. And then, as always, staying informed through the website updates. So once we have identified a landing place for all the information on this, we'll be sharing that as well. Right now, I believe the focus for the website that's been shared already with Ken is primarily around the skateboard piece. So I will confirm what website we'll be using for this, and I'll share that with the councillor to be distributed at a future time. And that's it for me. If you need to reach out, please, by all means, I'm Dawn Walton in Recreation. I'm happy to help with any questions you may have moving forward. And Janet Warner is not with us tonight, but she's my colleague in strategic planning and capital compliance. Her group in energy, fleet, and facilities management actually are responsible for the study itself, the feasibility, and they're the ones who undertake the construction of the site. I inform the need, and our group informs need, and her group actually builds our buildings for us. So moving forward, she will be involved in any future conversations we have about the space. So thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dawn, and thank you, Ken. I'd like to thank everyone from the community for taking the time out of your day and this evening for joining us in this discussion. Just to let you know that a video of tonight's presentation, just the presentation part, will be posted in a few days on YouTube and on the maureenwilson.ca site. So if there was something that you wanted to return to, or if you have some neighbors or boarders who are interested in the discussion or interested in the contact information, you'll be able to send them a link to the video. Also, please, a reminder for if you're interested in this project and any other news that's occurring in Ward 1, to please sign up for the Ward 1 newsletter, maureenwilson.ca. You can follow along the progress and the process for this through those contacts. And I want to again thank staff for spending the evening with us as well. Your time is always greatly appreciated. Thank you to Stephanie Hilson, and thank you to everyone who supports the importance of investing in public spaces. Thank you very, very much. And I hope you will engage further and get us all those great questions and participate in this. Thank you.